he did force the issue. He really did try to make the plays, coming in with 5-man condemns over and over again. But there's only so much he could do here. Now, let's see the next map. RPG gave the map choice over to TimeFlow, and TimeFlow are taking us to Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Exactly. Tomb of the Spider Queen, one of my personal favorites, simply due to the fact that there's so much early game action and rotations involved. You really need to make sure that you have lane control as such, a lot of wave clears necessary, and most importantly, if you drop a lot of gems early on, you're going to be in a lot of trouble because you need those early game web weavers to really establish map dominance. We've seen times and times again where teams were able to maintain their gem count, but due to the fact that they were so pushed in on all fronts, they could never use them, and as such we had 100 gems, 120 gems in the bank. That is no rare sight in HGC sometimes.
Exactly, we can sometimes see those little stalemates where whichever team gets the kill can try and force the turn-in, but the majority of other times you will see them dancing around, trying to find the opportunity but unable to force the issue, especially if we are talking about the kind of heroes that we've already seen Timeless play, Garrosh, who can punish you for being out of position on such a small map, and the other hero in his recently picked list, Ditches.
And I want to see whether this is going to remain the theme for TimeFlow here, really have Timeless on that main tank in all of their games, or if at some point, if they want to surprise their opponents and catch them off guard, they're going to put him on that bruiser melee assassin role and let someone else take the main tank.
We'll have to see. We will have to see. For now, Hanzo getting banned out quite quickly here. Let's see if the response will be the same as last time in the form of the Genji.
Yeah, Genji, actually, now that you mention it, is one of the two infamous Shimada bros. And we've seen them banned in Europe and NA and Korea almost
there he goes.
On a regular basis. There we go. No surprise here. And China seems to be, you know, agreeing on this point. They didn't always, or they don't always agree with what the remaining parts of the world have to offer in terms of meta. But here, I think it's safe to say that Hanzo, his wave clear, his poke is just almost second to none. And Genji, we all know him, the probably best rotator in the early game that we have in the game right now.
Probably. So, we see Lucio once again returning as the first pick for RPG. We'll see if this will be, this time, a solo support, or if they will bring in a second support to react to it. But right now, nice, very similar picks to last time, as Greymane once again comes in here for TimeFlow.
Now, I really want to see whether RPG is going to stick to that double support style again, because I think it didn't look so good in game one. Now, mind you, that doesn't have to mean, or that doesn't have to be the ultimate truth. They could still come back swinging with yet another double support comp, but with wave clear being one of the main features you have to bring to the table on Tomb of the Spider Queen, and most supports not providing a lot of wave clear anymore, I really don't think we're going to see that again. What about you?
I'd agree. I think definitely something a little bit more wave clear friendly might be better. Even the Zarya we saw from TimeFlow would be more preferable to a second support here due to the nice AoE hits. Maybe throw a little bit of NA on it, throw in a little bit of Diva. Well, NA last season. But we will have to see. For now, similar picks. Timeless back on that Garrosh, and we have Cat, most likely going to be playing the Greymane.
Yeah, definitely true. Now, Lucio is pretty solid, even all by himself as a solo support, so I want to see a little bit of focus on the assassin picks now. Gul'dan could be a nice choice indeed, especially against a hero like Garrosh, who isn't really the most mobile of warriors. I think it is relatively easy to land a good Horrify, with a Greymane in the mix as well, so Gul'dan could be a hero that brings a lot of value. In general, basically, we have to mention that mages have risen in popularity a lot. If you compare it to the last HGC season, we saw a lot of Vala, we saw a lot of Greymane, but very rarely did we see the mages come out. And if they did, with the exception of Gul'dan, maybe they didn't really perform so well. But we see a Tassadar Tetra, and I never thought I would get excited about a Tassadar.
Indeed.
If you'd asked me like a few months ago, like, oh, another Tassadar, save me that.
Yeah, Resident Sleeper. But now, he's back, and he's a little bit rarer to see. So yeah, Tassadar, we were talking about wave clear. That fits the bill. Very solid here, and still allows them to, if they want to continue with that hyper carry style, if they do want to stick with the Valor, or maybe even pick out some of the other heroes we have seen jump into that sort of hyper carry role. We even saw a Cassia come out yesterday, Javelin build Cassia, in fact, which was very exciting and very fun.
Very true, very true. The Cassia builds have definitely deviated and shifted a little bit rather than going for auto attacks all the time. Now we see, as you said, a little bit more Q build implemented. And isn't it interesting that Cassia is getting banned by TimeFlow now? Because if you see a Tassadar come out early, you could also expect a Tracer. And guess who's really good against Tracer? Cassia.
Very true. Garrosh can taunt Tracer, but a solid Tracer should just be able to dance around it and play a little bit safer. So we did actually mention something when we were talking about Garrosh's lack of mobility. In that last game, TimeFlow actually went for 2 speed boosts, with the speed boost on the heal from Alexstrasza and the speed boost on the shield from Zarya. So both of them trying to give Timeless that ability to engage and get those really solid throws.
Definitely true. And I gotta say that I really like the Gul'dan ban here on the side of RPG, because they're definitely gonna play a hyper carry with that Tassadar, which means a strong auto attacker could be a Tracer, could be a Vala. And as we mentioned earlier, double support team compositions, they lack a little bit of wave clear. So what can you do in order to prevent getting pushed in early on? You take away strong wave clear from the enemy team. And as such, I think the Gul'dan makes a lot of sense.
I would agree, but some of the other mages we have seen stepping up in priority, we already talked about the Jaina, has jumped up hugely in priority, and could be very interesting if there is a hyper carry coming in from the side of RPG here. That continuous slow could be exactly what TimeFlow needs, or just the ability to blow up the hyper carry target. For now, though, they seem very happy with the same build, but finally we have some differentiation here in the form of Leoric coming in.
Alright, never change a winning team, I guess. The Zarya getting locked in once again, and another warrior enters the fray with Leoric. Now, this is going to be an extremely tanky, extremely durable team composition by TimeFlow, and I think they're expecting Tracer shenanigans too, and they really want to maybe limit the amount of damage she can do, because the worst thing you can do is pick a lot of squishy backliners into the Tracer.
Exactly. The Leoric, very interesting here in terms of, we were talking about wave clear. Incredibly solid in terms of his wave clear. The other option, if they were expecting a Tracer, could have maybe been Varian, but that really falls short in terms of the wave clear. So the Leoric here makes a lot of sense. And of course, the Drain Hope on Johanna is always going to be get a solid amount of effectiveness.
If there's one thing that I can agree on with Varian falling short in a little bit, it is wave clear. In every other department, he's the best here in the game. Hands down. We don't need to argue about that.
Is this the Infinity Chromie? The legendary Infinity Chromie? Could we be getting it back?
I mean, now you basically limit your options to a solo tank Johanna, like a true solo tank. Last time they had a Sonya next to her. Still not the secondary tank you're used to seeing with the Johanna, but now it's going to be so hard for Wang to make those plays.
It is indeed. He gets the speed boost. Johanna did get a rework a little bit ago in terms of talents, so that extra speed boost on the Condemn could be the play she needs. But against triple tank, it's basically what we're going to see here is we're going to see a lion in the form of TimeFlow trying to swat a swarm of mosquitoes. It's really hard. In theory, a lion is way bigger and way tougher. I mean, it's really hard to kill the mosquitoes, though, and the mosquito, it might kill the lion, but it's going to take ages.
Now, with that Uther being locked in as the final pick here for TimeFlow, I think they made a really good decision here. Not only does Uther provide the Divine Shield that could save people who are getting focused down by the Tracer or the Chromie, but he brings another tool to the table, which is very good against potential early game Chromie shenanigans with Temper Loop. He has a Cleanse, and if you use that on time, you can really save a target and deny the value of an entire heroic ability. So I think the Uther pick makes a lot of sense, and while he isn't really the most popular support in Hero League anymore, in competitive play, we've seen a lot of teams get good value for, most importantly, I think Team Liquid, Splendor. He showed us really what you could still do on the old man Uther, who's by no means a hero that you should really forget about.
Yeah, never sleep on Uther. He is scary. He's got his own little bit of crowd control. Really decent burst protection, which Tracer can do, so they need to be careful about that due to his armor and pretty decent healing numbers in general. So Uther can help there, and like you said, had a protection to deal with that temporal loop, which is a huge threat. Pretty solid pick. Could not... I have no fault in this.
Yeah, definitely true. And I want to see if, Timeless can show us a good Garrosh again. Garrosh, normally a hero that I'm a little bit skeptical towards, simply due to the fact that he no longer has his guaranteed, pull in, throw over the shoulder combo anymore. But Timeless really showed us how it's done. And especially the taunt, as you mentioned, can be such a formidable weapon against Tracers who like to go in a little bit cheeky.
Very, very true. If she goes at any point too deep, there's the burst protection in the form of the Uther, Divine Shield, and of course regular armor. But if she moves in and gets crowd controlled by even Uther, that sets up for Garrosh. So the reaction timing of TimeFlow here is absolutely going to be tested.
Definitely true. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to dive in right into game number 2 between RPG, the team that has such a rich history in HGC China, and the newcomers who are looking strong, TimeFlow. We're going to Tomb of the Spider Queen.
And spawning on the left-hand side of Tomb of the Spider Queen, it is currently 0-1 down, RPG. And playing for RPG, it's going to be Chicken playing on the Tassadar, not on a melee hero. We have Wang on the Johanna, Sar on Lucio, the legendary Infinity on that Chromie, and of course Tracer being played by Loktar.
And TimeFlow here, represented by Timeless on that Garrosh, Cat on the Greymane, we have 11 on Zarya, A2E on that Uther, and last but not least we have F-Show on Leoric. And you brought up a very important change here to the way RPG plays their drafts. Chicken is no longer on a bruiser or a melee assassin. That has never happened in the history of HGC China before. He plays a Tassadar.
To be fair, he has in the past played on heroes that aren't ranged or that aren't melee assassins or bruisers. It was Uther, and he did lose, but it has happened.
Okay, let me rephrase it. They have never successfully played with Chicken on another hero or on a different role than bruiser and melee assassin. There we go.
Yeah, that is solved there. Locked on. Gets thrown, immediately just blinks past Timeless here. And like we said, we see that nice harassment from Tracer. Just whittling down the enemies. It's going to take a while for him to pick up a kill, but he is being incredibly annoying.
Now, Tetra, I want to ask you one thing. How is RPG supposed to take down the front line of TimeFlow, especially that Garrosh? True, Tracer does get the percentage damage at level 10, but before that, and even after that, with only one tool on a relatively long cooldown, how are they going to crack that tough front line?
I think it is going to have to be a Singularity Bomb, the extra 10% at level 10 from Tracer, plus Chrome. It's going to have to be a single target focus. An Archon might help with some little bit of, not so much burst damage, maybe the armor reduction from Tassadar might be the way to go. Right now, though, he is very much all in on protecting the Tracer with the Globe talent at level 1, going with that extra shield duration, I believe. Actually, shielded melt.
It's a shield value, exactly. The Kedarn Resonance here being picked, which is once again a new take on how to play Tassadar, because normally you used to see a lot of, Sign Fusion. You go for a lot of AoE, Wave Clear, with the Double Storms later on, or in rare cases you were used to seeing the good old Templar's Will auto-attack build with Archon, who is capable of dishing out a lot of damage in the late game, but the Kedarn Resonance builds, that is quite the relic of the past, and I'm super excited to see what Chicken can make out of this talent.
Chromie, on the other hand, staying about as standard as could possibly be here, going for that Time Walker's Pursuit, immediately by Tracer.
Tracer.
Immediately followed by the Bronze Talons. But yeah, first blood going into Tracer. This is the issue. It only really takes one bit of CC before Uther or Timeless, depending on which one drops their CC first, can follow up. And if Tassadar's not in position, or if Tracer doesn't have a recall available, there could be a severe amount of issues in terms of, living.
So here's something I want to bring up as well in terms of actual gameplay mechanics and the interaction between Tracer and Zarya, two Overwatch heroes. And when Zarya drops a shield either onto herself or on a target that is currently attacked by Tracer, if Tracer wants to stop damaging a target that is currently shielded, the player actually needs to use a different hotkey. They need to use S immediately and in order to not attack anymore, because you can't just use a right click to step away, because those locked on auto attacks will cause to rise the shield value and the energy value overall.
Is it S or is it H? I thought H was hold fire.
Okay, it could
S
be
was just stop moving.
Yeah, it could be the H key. Like whatever you have your stop doing anything, basically, set to,
Yeah.
you're going to have to use that button immediately. The same goes for variants, by the way, who use overpower and parry. Sometimes it's really important to stop those locked-on auto attacks against heroes who would otherwise benefit from getting attacked.
So we just saw a little bit of a preview of what looks like how RPG do actually intend to pick up kills here. And that is to play ping pong with whoever they actually, pinball with whoever they actually want to get the kill on. We saw Johanna with the condemns, Lucio with the booms, just trying to isolate a individual hero from the rest of the team so that they're not all grouped up so Tracer can really continue her target fire.
Now, Uther going full Shockedin build up to this point, going for the Holy Shock at level 4, and this adds a nice amount of harassment to his kit when it comes to preventing turn-ins, for example. Like, oftentimes you will see Uther as that long-distance poker, especially if his level 1 talent has been completed, and from a safe distance, he's just continuing to rain down those Qs to prevent those turn-ins from happening.
We see the condemn again. Once again, Locked able to dodge Timeless, as Timeless is very slowly dropping down. The continued harassment from Sar is already quite interesting here, where Sar very much playing that #1 player killer hero style that has become so common in China last season on that Lucio.
Yeah, definitely true. And I really want to see what the Tacitor Tracer synergy can dish out here. In the meantime, Wang getting flung in once again into the backlane, but the body blocks are not happening in time, and with the speed boost provided by Sa's Lucio, he manages to get out to safety in time.
Yeah, valiant effort coming in from TimeFlow there, realizing that Iron Skin prevents all CC except body blocking, but they were able to, they weren't able to lock him down, thanks to the clutch moves from Sar moving in and assisting his ally in the nick of time.
I mean, no forts have fallen here with that first turn-in by TimeFlow, but they still did the job pretty well. If you take a look at the general XP count, almost an entire level, that can actually be huge when it comes to reaching level 10. And if you're the one that reaches level 10 way before your enemies, you can deny a lot of value from potential turn-ins on their side. However, that's not going to happen here. RPG did a great job at securing the turn-in before their opponents hit level 10.
So here's the comeback opportunity for RPG. They are a full level behind at this point. Here they're going to try and grab themselves some towers and make the counter. And good move to move immediately to the bot lane here and clear out these siege giants. Prevent anything that would slow down the push and prevent the kind of XP game they could gain. However, Show has been left unattended in the top lane with this Web Weaver.
Exactly, and you can see how despite the Chromie and despite the Tracer, they just can't seem to really punch down any of those frontliners. The Zarya shields continue to be such a menace for RPG here, and so far TimeFlow is doing a really good job at holding the forts and keeping them safe. The top Web Weaver has been dealt with, so has the middle Web Weaver, and only the bottom is really left, but with the lack of wave clear, I don't think RPG can build up enough pressure to really threaten any of those structures.
We will have to see. It is going to be very difficult for them. For now, we do see the Web Weaver finally cleared up with still a slight level lead in favor of TimeFlow, but it's a lot closer now than it was. RPG with some nice comeback there, comeback XP, killing out some of those towers. Tas, another very hard hero to hit. The taunt is a silence as well, though. Prevents that dimensional shift, and Tas goes down.
Yeah, that was really well done by TimeFlow. Actually, Greymane used his go for a throw to execute Tacitor and blow him out of his Protoss socks. And I really want to see how TimeFlow is going to use that advantage right now, because without Tacitor, Tracer all of a sudden becomes a much more rewarding target to focus on.
Exactly, and the fact is TimeFlow are only one gem away from another turn-in. They might try to just go for a chain turn-in here as they just picked up enough, and it looks like they, actually no, they are still a little bit short. They might try and make the play here. We see heroics available for both teams, as we have said. Locked looking for Uther here as the target, but with the Zarya shield, bit too hard to break through.
Yeah, exactly, but so far I gotta say that RPG has done a really good job at keeping TimeFlow at bay and disabling them, or preventing them from turning in once more. Timeless now caught off, separated by the Force Wall, but the Divine Shield keeps him safe and sound for now.
That is having to blow, though, a 90-second cooldown in exchange for what was basically a rechargeable ult in the form of the Pulse
it's like another basic ability.
Force Wall, which is already up.
Exactly. It's almost like another basic ability. That's how short the cooldown is. And if you can bait out any longer cooldown like the D shield with just using one force wall, man, you did a really good job. And this could potentially be one of those few moments for RPG to lock down a kill if you prevent Uther from helping a target, especially when his Divine Shield is on cooldown. You separate somebody, you isolate somebody, even if it's a Garrosh and the Spike Bomb, and you get a kill and snowball from there.
So very interesting. Oh, good move in straight away. The explosion zone might have saved Star here. He tries to throw a 2E in to help his team.
No way.
Bomb just short of killing Timeless here, as Locktar's desperately trying to burn down something, but they can't do it. Infinity was not in position. The damage output is just short.
It's so important that Timeless had a healing fountain available here, because if he had to teleport all the way back to base, I think that would have been the time window for RPG to get that turn in once and for all. And it is such a back and forth battle from both teams here to constantly keep the enemies at bay, try to get your own gem delivery going. And you can see that in the bottom right corner as well. 38 gems on the side of RPG to 29 for TimeFlow. The next turn it could really set the pace for the rest of this game.
Here comes the expulsion zone. They're zoning away, which actually gives Locktar the free ability to turn in all of the gems he has available. Sar could now, in theory, just race up to top lane and try and turn in his enough gems for his team to get the full Webweaver wave here.
Yeah, definitely true. And we actually were a little bit worried about RPG and their capabilities of taking down the front line of TimeFlow, but vice versa. You can see that with the heavy front lining, TimeFlow can't really get the damage done, it feels like, to kill anyone. Lucio is always there to save a target in need, so is Tassadar. It's such a critical moment for TimeFlow to really get something done.
Exactly. I think the analogy I actually gave at the start of the game is still very apt here. They can't break through the front line of TimeFlow here, but RPG, their poke damage and their own maneuverability is keeping them in this. So far, there are still 2 kills on the side of TimeFlow, but RPG are able to control the map a little better.
And this is such a untypical game for HGC China, ladies and gentlemen. We only saw 2 kills after 10 minutes and 33, which means that the average kill count of, I would say, like 15 or 10.
Something like that.
Something along those lines, yeah, is definitely not being reached here, simply due to the fact that both teams have team compositions that are so hard to crack.
Another Pulse Bomb on Timeless, but he's still at a solid 50% health with
Greymane.
25 armor there. Greymane wants Chicken. Force Wall to try and isolate Cat there, and a Dimensional Shift to get Chicken out himself, but no one was in position to drop the finishing damage onto that Greymane.
Exactly, and once again, TimeFlow did a fairly decent job at keeping those structures safe and sound. However, the bottom lane is now under a little bit of pressure. So is Timeless, by the way. The Divine Shield by A2, he keeps him safe for now. But Trace is on the chase. She gets blown up almost there in the process.
Oh my god! The back and forth between
A2.
these teams. A2 nearly gets sniped by Chromie, who has finished her Q stacks at 11 minutes. Infinity, please! Actually getting that Sand Echo here, that is insane!
Yeah, and that was, once again, a beautiful Dragon's Breath by Infinity here, who's doing such a good job at poking people down, and actually, as Tetris said, completing his Sandblast quest after 11 minutes. Good show here. And since Chromie is Chromie and she gains access to her talents a little bit early, we're going to see her quote-unquote 16 talent being locked in very shortly. Now, what we usually see here is a little bit of extra ability power from the Sandblast, but let's see if Infinity likes to switch it up this time.
Let's keep an eye on it. It's actually not too surprising Infinity was able to do this. If there is a comp to do it against, it's this one with the unlimited front line. Johanna having to drop the Iron Skin. There's the bomb and the Blessed Shield again. The health bars are so high on the side of TimeFlow. They can't break through them. And there's one heroic in this game that I'm still a little confused about. March of the Black King.
I wanted to talk about that as well.
Yeah.
So, the thing is, March of the Black King provides a lot of zoning, and it provides a lot of self-heal to Leoric if he is, if he finds himself surrounded by multiple enemies. However, as we talked about earlier, the team compositions by RPG is not necessarily melee heavy, or it's not really immobile. It's quite the opposite. It's very mobile. So, many targets, Lucio, Tassadar, Tracer, they could just run away from the March of the Black King. So, I wonder if an Entomb wouldn't have been the better choice. We actually saw some spectacular... Yeah, exactly. We saw some very spectacular Entomb plays in Europe yesterday, for example.
Yeah, I'm kind of on board with it, but we'll have to see. Could we be proved wrong? I think the idea is the 5-man taunt into March. That's the theory I have in my head.
Well, good luck trying.
Oh, yeah, good luck.
Now, Greymane, we saw him going for the throat here, not being able to take down Locktar, though. But I think TimeFlow has established a nice position here on the map overall. Garrosh on the front line. They're trying to take somebody down now, but look at the beautiful wall here by Tassadar and the zoning provided by the Slowing Sands as well. It's just so hard for a rather immobile team on the side of TimeFlow to really find a good engage when there's a Force Wall interrupting you, when there's a Slowing Sands interrupting you all the time. I gotta give a lot of kudos to RPG for playing this very smart.
Yeah. Look at this, Infinity has still not locked in his level 14 talent here, as we see Wang trying to set up a play here. Leoric is a little isolated, takes a couple more Sand Blasts, actually is dropping low. Could this be RPG's first kill? Oh, is he still chasing? Oh, come on, Show. F-Show keeping himself alive there.
Yeah, very nicely done. Now comes the engage by Wang, though, dropping the Blessed Shield, but there was no follow-up here. I think he realized that, you know, Locktar was busy paying, and sometimes it's really important as a tank player to know when to engage. You always need to constantly check your backline. Like, do I have enough damage with me? Should I make an engage happen? So there were probably some communications issues going on. Or maybe he just wanted to buy time for his allies to turn in. And as we mentioned, RPG, they unlock another set of Web Weavers here for the time being. And they're trying to approach the keep slowly but surely by TimeFlow.
They are indeed. So we have the Psychic Echo coming in from Tassadar here. Extra Storms not going with that armor reduction, which I thought he might do here to try and deal with that Garrosh. Very interesting to see.
Very interesting to see indeed. Now we have double storms available for Tassadar. 16 has come online for both teams. Zarya actually going for the cooldown reduction at 16, if I'm not mistaken here.
Yeah, same time as last time.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Like, we're not used to seeing a lot of those energy-related talents anymore. We used to see... But a huge cocktail here, hitting 3 people at the same time as well. But so far, I gotta say, the K-Darn Resonance here. Look at that massive shield on Locktar here. That Tracer is so hard to crack, especially since you don't have any shield shredding abilities.
The poke is insane from RPG. They don't need to get kills, they just need to keep health bars low. We see it just sand flying in from every angle, lightning storms raining down from above from the Tassadar. And with that, they're able to kill off the fountain and the entire front wall here.
And guess what, Tetra? Guess which support struggles against long-distance poke? It is Uther. We talked about this a lot whenever we see the infamous pairing, you know, between Lunara or Gul'dan into an Uther, who are really good picks against it. But so is Tracer and Chroma here with that long-distance poke and the constant, you know, harassing. Now in the meantime, we see Garrosh Timeless going in for a big play.
He's tanking through. The sound barrier was dropped, though, keeping Wang alive. The expulsion zone is there. The focus.
Could that be it?
To kill off that tank in your hand, and the March of the Black King does get value. Wang will finally fall. Infinity getting slowed by F-Show here as they move in. TimeFlow coming in from the side. The bomb is shielded by Zarya. They're looking for more here, but the Slowing Sands, they can't lock them down, even with F-Show.
Oh, no way!
Finish. He drain kills Infinity. Beautiful moves.
Like, Drain Hope, especially when it comes to chasing down targets from a medium to long distance, is such a hard ability to land. I can't believe that in the heat of battle, he was still able to touch the Chromie, who was so close to dying. Really well played by TimeFlow, and they carry that momentum all the way through. Still, 2 people dead for RPG, and the Web Weavers are unlocked. However, as good as that may be for TimeFlow, the 2 Web Weavers in the middle and the top, they're going to need a long time to really reach the opponent's structures. So we actually get to see a replay here once again with a beautiful engage by Timeless.
Yeah, we saw the sound barrier was so good from Sar to try and turn it round, but Timeless, like you said, able to just keep Wang locked down for long enough. And this is the point. RPG, they're great from range, but the second the fight gets in within melee range, the composition of TimeFlow is so much better, way stronger, and has much more control.
Exactly, and with heroes like Greymane and Zarya, once she's fully juiced up, they can shred those structures like there was no tomorrow. And guess what? Poking is much more efficient when you're in the offense, right? When you're trying to attack something, when you're forced to defend, especially when there's a lot of NPC minions like minions and web weavers and little spiders. It's not going to be that efficient anymore, and it looks like we're going to take a short break here. One of the players may experience some difficulties, but Tetra, I gotta say, this is a constant back and forth between those two teams. It is a classic China match, and I think I'm not exaggerating when I tell you guys that China, from a viewer's perspective, is the most interesting one and the most pleasant one to watch, because those teams, more than any other region, focus so much on brawling.
It is definitely very fun to watch. We've seen so many good plays here. Right now, the March of the Black King actually getting a bit of value in that last fight. Good to see. Boombox going to be completely ignored, basically acting as a bit of a ward here, as we see F-Show moving in, using that royal focus, that ominous wraith, able to get so much, cover so much ground so quickly here, as we do see RPG hiding inside the base, returning to their poke, but guess who can also poke? It's the Greymane, who did go for the cocktail build, as we said before, but when you're on the offensive, as Kendrick perfectly said earlier, when you're on the offensive, it is significantly more effective.
Exactly. Now, both teams relatively close when it comes to reaching that level 20. TimeFlow has a little bit of an advantage, and they have 109 gems in the bank. They've got money in the bank right here, and they're not afraid to use it. In fact, they played this very smart. They baited RPG into assuming that they would do the boss, so they had to check it. But what they really did was going to the exact opposite side of the map and turning in the bottom, unleashing another set of web weavers, and with towers and walls being already damaged, this could actually be very lethal, very threatening for the keeps here on the side of RPG. So well played by TimeFlow.
Big comeback play here. You can see the keeps on the side of TimeFlow are very weak. If they're able to take one down here, they will give themselves a lot of freedom on the map here. Zarya tanking through right now. Web Weavers arriving. Couple low health bars on the side of TimeFlow, but we will soon see the potentially same thing. Cocktail is dodged though by RPG here, but with the Web Weaver pushing in, F-Show moving in from the side here, trying to make the play, but everyone able to dance around him. The mobility of RPG once again coming into effect. The nice boot from Sar protecting Infinity there.
And look how deep F-Show and Timeless were going here on the respective warriors. So crazy to see. In the meantime, Wang on the Janna is trying the best he can to keep the enemies at bay, and it looks like he was successful this time around. Level 20 is here though, Storm Tier talent advantage for TimeFlow. I'm not sure if they have enough gems to pay once more, because they're already trying to play very patiently. No, they just retreated for a short while, only to wait until the Web Weavers were pushing in top and middle, and then they came back in full force. Uther did a little bit of healing there as well, and this is 2 keeps, potentially 3 if TimeFlow keeps up the pressure.
That is the advantage now very much in TimeFlow's favor.
61.
Up those keeps at this stage. 61. They are 4 short, and right now all the waves are actually quite pushed up. The nearest wave is mid lane, and guess where RPG are? Immediately moving into game control. So instead, TimeFlow, you can see Greymane, and we can see Cat going to the bot lane, grabbing some Siege Giants into what is now a catapult lane.
Now look at F-Show, what he's doing on that Leroy all the time. He's basically working as not just, you know, a warrior who could threaten the backline like that, but he also acts as a mobile vision station. Going in, oh my goodness, Chromie no more? That could be lights out for RPG.
It might be. Sound barriers dropped as the try and turn around play here. It's really up to Tracer here. Never mind, Tracer's gone. All the damage that RPG could have is removed here, as Cat can't catch up to Sar using that Accelerando. But where's the defensive capabilities from RPG? As TimeFlow, they found their target and they were able to execute with F-Show. A beautiful backline play, picking up the kill that gets TimeFlow game number 2.
What you gonna do when Timeless and his boys come for you? That was so well played by TimeFlow there towards the end. They managed to get exactly the picks they wanted to. They shut down all the damage coming out from RPG. They took down Tracer, they took down Chromie, and as such, what is left to defend the core? Not a whole lot, especially when you have Uther and Zarya, some of the strongest protectors when it comes to core damage. Zarya also dishing out a lot of damage with her auto attacks when she's fully juiced up. So in the end, it was just, once again, well played by TimeFlow, and we were a little bit concerned in the middle of the game, or in the middle game of that match, but they managed to just play it so cleanly towards the end.
I really enjoyed some of the plays from RPG. When they were in control of the map, they looked beautiful. They looked super solid. But Once that level 20 hit, F-Show was absolutely a menace. Usually you'd see Leoric going, being a frontliner, draining attacks. Sometimes you'll see a little bit of a backline play, but Leoric just Wraith walking into the backline and shredding Chromie, giving her zero chance for reprieve, even with a time out there.
Fantastic. By the way, can we just give a shout out to our lovely Chinese commentator Q with that outfit? I'm loving it. I wish I could wear that on stream without making a fool of myself, you know.
I mean, you could. I think the chat would be very accepting.
Would they, though? Don't tempt me, Tetra. I dare you, man.
Well, maybe. We'll see. Either way, like you said, yes, Chinese production is always wonderful, and the caster's outfit's always styling. But for now, TimeFlow, newest team to the region, along with Sunny Lion, who we will be seeing play today. But TimeFlow impressing us 3-0 in their Crucible match, 3-0 in their second match of the tournament. They did go down 0-3 to SPT, but that's still a really solid performance against one of the oldest teams in this league.
Yeah, and once again, we experience RPG struggling in the beginning of the season. This is exactly what happened to them in Phase 2. They started off extremely weak, only to come back, you know, in decent fashion when it was already too late, when they had no more chances of actually qualifying for BlizzCon. And I really hope, for RPG's sake, that they're not going to fall into this pit that they fell into last phase. And especially since I know that, Tetra, you like them so much, we're going to wish them all the best. But Timeless and his team, TimeFlow, they're already showing off strong here. And we're going to find out who's the MVP here in a bit. But look at the stats, Tetra.
0 kills. 0 kills. But that was still one of the most high-action games in terms of just the teams battling each other. Usually from range, though, as opposed to full team fights. Very few team fights actually happened in that game. But the fact is, that game came down to almost all the keeps at some point in the game were threatened. There was always someone attacking a keep in the late stages of a game.
And I've got 3 words for you, Tetra.
Yeah.
Single tank Johanna.
Again, another failure. Like you said, maybe there could have been other options.
It is time to stop.
It is time to stop. Johanna's good. Johanna's nice. Give her a hand. Give her some help there. Wang, he's a legendary tank.
Yeah.
But he really did struggle there.
And this was arguably one of Johannes' best maps too. By the way, we take a look at the MVP vote here. We see 11 coming in on that Zarya. I think if you take the entire series into account, it's fair to give him the MVP because he played a really solid Zarya twice in a row now. Yeah,
the silent hero there. Those shields were absolutely legendary. Really solid grenade poke. If we were talking about just that last game, I honestly would have to give it to F-Show. He did his lane soaking correct. He did the backline damage correct. He did the engages correct, basically. But overall, again, really solid play here.